get it started in here.
I want a girl with a short skirt and a long jacket.
This is that high school, Michelle fight for that white coat. This one's for them good girls, straight masterpieces.
Goodbye, goodbye. Hey, 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 goodbye. Na-na. Hey, hey, goodbye. Na-na-na-na.
From my perspective, Nuance started when I transferred schools because there was no a cappella community when I got here. So in January of 2004, I transferred from Michigan State University to the University of Akron. And when I was at Michigan State, I was the student director of a subset of the MSU Men's Glee Club. The group was called the Spartan Discords. Spartan Discords, being the subset of the Men's Glee Club, had its own built-in talent pool. I still wanted to sing because I had such a great time with the Discords. I really missed that. The moment I walked off stage with that group, there were enough guys who were looking for that type of singing experience because, like I said, it didn't exist.
You know you make me wanna shout, throw my hands up and shout, kick my heels up and shout, throw my head back and shout. I still remember you were 9 years old.
I graduated in 06. The semester that I left, I went and student taught. I had to step away from the group. And I had thought that I had done an okay job of leaving them with like a blueprint. I went to see the spring concert on the semester that I was off. I remember thinking, being a little disappointed, but I also thought I was actually a little excited too, because at that point I had been offered the position as the graduate teaching assistant for vocal music for Dr. Gordon. And I said, well, what would I be required to do? And he's like, you'd be required to do whatever I tell you to do, and I want you to keep doing Nuance. And I said, great, I will keep doing Nuance provided it's the way it was when I left it, where I get to make all the decisions. I still wanted to be student run. He's like, great, he didn't actually say I want nothing to do with it, but basically he was like, go do it. When I came back, I knew I had 2 years to make the group into what I wanted it to be, and to truly groom a successor. I was able to do that with Matt Dolan.
And then when he graduated, it was like, okay, well, how are we going to figure this thing out now? Because we have, the person who kind of like started the ship, ran the ship forever. A lot of the older guys who kind of had founded the group with him had already graduated or had moved on. So I think the first goal was just to survive and kind of like navigate a legitimizing of ourselves, because we'd kind of been just a ragtag bunch of guys who were just singing and would throw on a concert at the end of every semester. And we had, some success in that. And so we took steps to keep legitimizing ourselves. Everything was always rooted in fun. It was like, would this be fun? Would it be fun to sing a Shania Twain song? Would it be fun to sing Man, I Feel Like a Woman? Well, yeah, it would. So we're going to do it. That became the goal. Once we knew that we could survive, it was, okay, well, how fun can we make this? Because we think we can make this very fun. That's the overarching memory that I have. Is just like, yeah, things were hard, but it was just an insane amount of fun.
She stared at the Grinch and said,
Santa Claus, why are you taking our Christmas wreath away?
Why, my sweet little top?
So I took over in the fall of 2011 after Matt Dolan, who had been the previous director, had graduated. And those were massive shoes to fill. Taking over that semester, we only had 6 guys after the previous semester graduated. We had some strong veterans, but we knew that 6 guys wasn't enough. We needed to fill the ranks again, and we were worried that we were gonna be unsuccessful in getting that many good guys to replace what we lost. We held auditions that fall, and I think we pulled in 8 or 9 guys, and it was just a flood of talent. And it really allowed me to kind of enact the visions that I had for the group. We could be doing more than we had done up to that point. And it wasn't a matter of whether we could pull it off, it was just a matter of whether we wanted to try to.
Next in Nuance News, and I'm sitting down for this, you should be too. We are in the process of recording our very first Christmas album that's gonna drop this winter, December 9th, at our concert.
That sales pitch that I gave, when I first wanted to become president, and my goals were I wanted to produce music. That had always been a goal of mine, and I saw that Nuance was this well-established group who had a lot of real talent, and something that Zach and I talked about when we were tossing out the idea of producing the album was like, how do you make a legacy for yourself? Our main goal was that we understood, I think from the moment we got in the group, that we would not be in the group forever. And it was our goal to do something that would be everlasting. So I pitched the idea of recording an EP, and that was just all it was. And I had no idea other than that.
So the EP was an awesome part of the group's history, and it really was a turning point in what Nuance tried to achieve and set itself apart as. And the initial discussions for that EP began when I went down to Myrtle Beach on vacation with Brandon Kreitz, and we were just hanging out at the pool one afternoon and just kind of talking about the group and just trying to come up with new things to do, and naturally recording came up, and it was not anything that either of us had any experience with. So of course we decided to do that exact thing. We figured, well, we'll figure it out. We come back to school in August, and we sit down with the rest of the leadership of the group and we say, hey, let's record an EP. And everyone was on board. We were all really pumped for it. And then it got down to actually making it happen. And that was kind of where the stubbornness met the total lack of knowledge.
When we made the decision that we were going to record the EP, it was like, yes, this is super exciting. We're really going to do this. And then it was like, oh, how do we do this? And where do we record? And how do we record? And who records us? And who edits it? And how do you edit? And there were just a trillion questions. I think it's fair to say that Zach and I really approached it 50-50, but when it came to like the actual production, Zach was the person who had the recording stuff in his apartment, and so Zach was there for all of it.
We set up a faux recording booth in my apartment, and I just nailed a bunch of moving blankets and quilts to my walls and stuck a mic in there. And I used my old laptop, and we got the most basic equipment we could to do everything, and we started laying down tracks. And we didn't know what we were doing. We didn't know what was proper, what was necessarily the right protocol, but that was kind of the fun in it. We were just really just shooting from the hip and seeing what we could pull off. And it resulted in a 5-song EP. It was called The Premiere. Premiere meaning both the first and the best. We were the first group to record at Akron, and we were constantly doing new things and kind of setting the bar for the a cappella landscape as a whole on campus. And we felt that we really had set ourselves apart up to that point. And so we kind of wanted to celebrate that and kind of plant our flag. The release of the Premiere, our EP, was awesome. We got a lot of excited responses from our fans. we decided to just ride that wave and go right into the next project, which was going to be a full-length album. There was no rest for the weary. We went right back into it.
I think that we were like bloodthirsty at that point. Like we released the EP, and I just remember like selling it at the concert and seeing people buy it that weren't our parents, and seeing, you know, fans actually respond to it. And I mean, like, we were just a college a cappella group, but it was like I felt like a celebrity.
If we'd had time to think about whether it was a good idea to take on all that work, I don't think we would have done it.
But in hindsight, we were a little bit overzealous after like coming off the high of the premiere, and like we were just like super confident that we were just going to record this banger album, and it was going to be everything we wanted, and we were going to be, you know, iTunes famous, and it was like, it was our ticket to stardom. I mean, like, maybe not that dramatic, but like, you know, it was like we were coming in hot. It took maybe all of like a month until like Zach and I really had a baseline for the for New Suits.
We ended up throwing down 13 songs for that album. We had learned a lot through the process of recording the EP. Lots of do's and don'ts and where we could have done things better. And one of the things that we learned at the time was we didn't really know what we were doing. And so we enlisted the help of the brother-in-law of Joe Strahl, was a resident sound engineer for NFL Films. We recorded and edited all our tracks and sent them to him for mixing. He just absolutely knocked it out of the park. And I think that was one of the best decisions we made for the album, was letting the people that knew what they were doing take control of that part of the project, because the worst thing that we could have done was let our ego and desire to do the whole thing ourselves get in the way of what the songs could have been. I think that was one of the best results from doing that album, was that it created that mindset of Nuance is a group that does awesome things like recording. We push the envelope and we try and do the most with what we can.
If you've got an itch you can't satisfy for music and fun, well, I've got the guys. April 22nd in EJ, Nuance Live.
Tickets only $10 general admission and $5 door with valid zip card. Visit unnuance.com for more information.
That was kind of the turning point in my eye for when the group really kind of started in a new direction, started in a new path, and began to take ourselves a little bit more seriously. We had a lot of young guys with a lot of ambition, and we wanted to take this group to the next level. This is when we started really looking at other venues to start renting, to eventually transition out of Lee Hall, and we really started to market ourselves really hard. Let's do more gigs, let's have more performances, let's make some money for the group that we can use to pursue some of these bigger, ambitious projects that we wanted to do. We wanted to have sound systems that sounded really good. We wanted to have professional music out there that we could sell to people. We wanted to have ways to brand ourselves and to market ourselves with materials like t-shirts and posters and things like that. And people bought them, and people were really supportive of us.
It was actually the end of my sophomore year that I was elected to be president, which kind of started through the summer, and then I spent 2 years as president. From early on as my time as president, I found that we had to learn how to narrow our goals so that we weren't stretching ourselves too thin. I think that there were times that pursuing pretty major and significant goals were kind of stressful. They brought us together as a group and strengthened our bond, but also sometimes created conflict. One of my big goals is just that we would become this professional organization. My very first semester as president, we had kind of negotiated previously with Willie Coleman, Brandon Kreitz, and Zach Toom, but especially Brandon, that had negotiated with the Akron Civic Theater downtown, this historic theater that we would be performing in, you know, not on our small on-campus space that we had outgrown for like 4 or 5 semesters straight, but that we were going to move into a new space downtown and not just be a campus thing, but that we were like a community organization and something that had a large following We were transitioning at that season into a new musical director as well as a new president. And it felt like this was like the biggest thing that Nuance had ever attempted. And that was all my very first semester as president.
You can't stop, it's live.
Keep going then.
Right when I stepped in, I had two main priorities, which was the direction I wanted to take the music and also the direction I wanted to take the atmosphere. My goal really was to simplify the music down to like the root of it so that we could really polish. We had this thing when I joined Nuance where we had kind of the two groups, the trained and the untrained, people with a superiority complex regarding music, and then people being given inferiority complexes by those people. One of my initiatives was to chastise the people who were putting the other ones down and kind of encourage people to ask simple questions if they didn't know the answers.
You know I love you.
Every time a director leaves, there's this sense of, oh no, oh God, oh what are we doing, oh God. That doesn't inspire confidence in the person leaving. They're like, oh, are you okay? Can I help? But the group has done very well. I don't want to take full credit, but I see my path forward being followed.
I'm so very happy that it's still a thing, because we worked really hard. We put a lot of time, energy, blood, sweat, tears, and we cared a bunch. And we wanted what we did to be good. I wanted it to at least go for another year or two after I left. So the fact that it's still a thing makes me incredibly happy.
I am ecstatic about where the group is. The crazy professional recordings that have been going on, super exciting. And it's so nice to see that clearly the individuals who are involved are just as energized and just as driven and just as imaginative as we were. And to see that growth continue is amazing. It's awesome. It warms me to think about it. I love it.
It's really awesome to see what the group has done and become since my time in the group. We knew that the group was going to be able to continue to raise the bar, both musically and in terms of what they did. That has continued to be the case, and it's been awesome to still be involved in the group's success, kind of as a third party.
I was so sad to say goodbye and then just understand that everyone else was going to be reaping the benefits of that work that I did. I think that the most prescient thing that a retired group member can do is to look back on the work that you did in the group and know that it laid the groundwork for the future.
The notion of joining an all-male a cappella group and being a part of a brotherhood in particular really appealed to me. I really would love to be a part of a group of guys that were really close friends, could put forward really, really good music and entertainment together. I feel like in terms of the professionalism, in terms of the brotherhood, all those things, I really felt that by the time I left Nuance, I remember feeling like I have done the work that I set out to do as president, and I felt like I had accomplished what I came there for, which was definitely to have a strong brotherhood.
From the start, there has been a tradition in Nuance that we are a brotherhood, we are best friends, and we're going to keep that as a main focus of our group. And that has never gone away. Everything from the Nuance traditions to the Nuance closing kiss 'em goodbye song, to nicknames, to the get-togethers with the guys. To be able to look back now as an alumni and to see that brotherhood still exists and the friendships that still exist. I mean, these guys become your best friends. It is inevitable that you join Nuance, you now have a group of about 15 guys that will become your best friends. Once you're a Nuance guy, you're always a Nuance guy, and you never lose that.
When I think of favorite moments from Nuance, nothing comes to mind that's like, oh, here's this really funny one-off story. What comes to mind is just how often I would spend time after rehearsal with people just obsessing over Nuance.
To be in something that you know is special at the instance that you're doing it is a really incredible feeling. It's a really special feeling. To sing with somebody is a very special thing.
Hey, goodbye, na 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 na, huh!
Going on, hey. We got it going on. Yeah, we got it going on, got it going on. Feels so good to be us. Yeah, we got it going on, got it going on. Oh my God.
Out here tripping in finesse. It don't make no sense. Out here tripping in finesse. You know it, you know